I don't underestimate anyone anymore. I think everyone's got an inner explorer waiting to get out and feel that childlike wonder again. And I know that you have what it takes to go explore a cave, get out safely, and you'll have an amazing story to share with all your friends and family. My name is Miles Fulmer. I'm the park director here at Horn Lake Caves Provincial Park on Vancouver Island. I've been a cave guide for over 12 years, and I'm excited to show you what the world of caving is all about.
My name is Dan King, and I live on an island in the Pacific Ocean off the west coast of Canada. Over the last few years, I've been showing off this incredible place that I call home to people from all over the world. Last season, it was all about my favorite summer destinations. But this time around, I'm inviting you to join me in exploring the beauty of the winter months here. And I want to introduce you to some of the interesting people that I've met along the way. Welcome to Vancouver Island Explored, Winter Wonderland. Well, welcome back to another episode of Vancouver Island Explored. My name is Dan King, and I've been your host as we've been journeying through this winter wonderland that I get to call home, located here off the west coast of Canada in the Pacific Ocean. If you were with us last episode, you know that we went to Horn Lake Provincial Park, where we met up with our guide, Miles, who took us under the earth into 2 of the 5 publicly accessible caves at this provincial park. We went down deep where natural light has never been before. We saw underground rivers, we slid down slides, we saw stalactites and stalagmites and all sorts of other types of rock formations, and it was so incredibly interesting to hear all the stories that Miles had to tell. And so that's why for this episode, we're gonna do things just a little bit different, because all the way along I've been saying that Vancouver Island's winters are just a little bit different, so it makes sense that once in a while we mix it up and do things just a little bit different here. Miles is an incredibly interesting person to spend time with. Not only does he have incredible amounts of knowledge about the sport of caving, but he knows so much about Vancouver Island's caves and even caving across Canada. I've invited him to sit down with us and just share a little bit more about how he got into caving. How did it start for him? Where are some of the crazy places that caving has taken him? To give us an idea about some of the things we need to keep in mind from a safety perspective as we plan to go caving. And also to talk about what it's like to go into a cave that's never ever been explored before. Literally being the first people to go in and access it and to head down into the cracks and the crevices and the darkness of a cave. And so would you join me in sitting down with him and just listening to him to tell stories? I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating to hear Miles talk. So without further ado, let's spend some time with Miles. Let's hear his stories and let's learn together.
My name is Miles Fulmer. I'm the park director here at Horn Lake Caves Provincial Park, Central Vancouver Island. For the last 12 years, I have dedicated my life to helping people experience the magic of the underground world. For me, how I got into caving, I went into a cave and then I was into caving. It was love at first sight. When I saw the first crystal formations underground, I knew that these dark, ancient spaces are something special that had my instant respect, just in awe of the beauty that was around me. All of the obstacles you have to get through to earn those sites make earning those sites extra satisfying. And I grew up in the prairies of Alberta. There was no hills, barely any trees, definitely not any caves. So I'm so glad that I made it out to Vancouver Island. It's a caver's paradise, this place. There are more mapped caves on Vancouver Island than the rest of Canada combined. And there's a caving community here, I'd say 100 or so cavers who are going hard, pushing the limits of exploration. It's crazy to think that there are uncharted corners of this world that you can get to. You can be the first person to see somewhere new and see those new sites and map that space and name it. And you can share it with the world if they're up for tagging along with you. But finding someone who's willing to go into a dark cave with you, that can be a challenge. There's a lot of people who are nervous about caving. They think it's this scary thing. What if the cave collapses randomly? What if some monster jumps out of the shadows at you? This place, Vancouver Island caving, would be a lot more crowded if it wasn't for all these horror movies making caves seem so scary. As soon as you get into a cave, it can be pretty overwhelming just how alien of an environment it is to the average person. And there's clues all around you that are telling a story about the history of the cave. Caves essentially are nature's time capsule. Things can remain unchanged for thousands of years. There's lots of different avenues of science that come into the study of caves. Kind of an umbrella term for the study of caves is speleology. But that includes geology, hydrology, biology, archaeology, paleontology, all of the ologies. And whatever it is that interests you, you're going to find it in the caves. And there's so many interesting things to talk about. When you come across some peculiar life form with unique adaptations to survive in the absolute darkness of the cave. Some cave life forms do not know light exists, and yet they can survive underground in the darkness for up to 100 years. There's 7,700 known species of cave-adapted life forms out in the world, and they're always going to find new species because they're always finding new caves. And what remains to be found, I'm excited to see where these explorations can lead. The microbial life that dwells underground is leading to some new, exciting scientific discoveries. These extremophiles are getting through amazing conditions with having adapted to living without sunlight. Studying these extremophiles is leading to new antibiotics that can help combat new superbugs. They're finding new cancer treatments, new ways to break down petroleum products to clean up oil spills in the ocean. We've just scratched the surface of what we can learn from caves and the microbial life that lives within them. And it's exciting to see where these explorations and discoveries are going to lead to next. A part of my job is helping people to safely explore the underground world and to realize the confidence that they need to make that exploration possible for them. Having a plan when you're going to go underground is very important. You want to have a well thought out plan if you're going to go caving. You need to have a map of the cave or someone who knows the cave very well. You need all of the proper equipment, helmets, headlamps. You might need ropes. You want to have some first aid equipment. You want to have a whole armload of batteries. Definitely need to have a lot of light when you're going to go to a place where there is no sunlight to be found. So having all that gear, knowing how to use it properly, and knowing the cave environment that you're going into, what's the temperature of the cave, how windy is the cave. Cave atmosphere can be different than, say, going into an underground mine. For one thing, the cave is going to be way older than any mine. Caves can stand the tests of time. They go through thousands of years of seismic activity, and they're still there. You get airflow circulating through the cave. All of the places that water can get into the cave, all these natural conduits, there's air circulating through there as well. I once spent 6 days underground in a cave called Thanksgiving Cave. It was 4 degrees Celsius and it was an incredibly windy cave. You could hold up some flagging tape, it would just be flapping in the breeze. I found out you can sleep for a long time in a cave. You can't tell what the sun is doing. You can't tell whether your eyes are opened or closed, it's that dark, so you just lay in the darkness for what feels natural, but we found ourselves sleeping for over 16 hours every time. And when we finally got out of the cave, it was 5:30 in the morning. We had gone fully nocturnal somehow. So keeping track of time can be difficult underground, and time flies when you're having fun as well. So that definitely plays a part, I think. You want to go as far as you're comfortable. Sometimes it's good to push your comfort zone a little bit. That's how you grow, right? You do something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. Now it's in your comfort zone. So going through narrow spaces is something that's a challenge for a lot of people. They are nervous about being pinned and not able to move their arms, but that rarely happens in caves. You can always move your arms around, and you can always take a deep breath and calm yourself. Just got to take a moment, take your time, and you can persevere past that fear. And all of the best things in life are waiting for you on the other side of your fears. You just got to get through it, and you're going to be so proud of yourself at the end of that adventure. It makes it all worth it. Exploring new caves for the first time is that next level of exploration that takes a little bit extra caution. You should take some extra precautions if you're going to go into a brand new cave for the first time. You think you've discovered a new cave, and it can be super exciting to just rush into that scene, and that's when you're rushing through things, that's when you can get into a little bit of trouble. Going through a new cave, you look around, you're seeing new leads leading in all these different directions, and you can't explore it all at once, so you got to mark your route as you're going through the cave, something that you can easily erase later. The preferred method is just leaving little bits of flagging tape at every junction, which you can collect on the way out when they're no longer needed. You don't want to leave litter in a cave, but even worse would be to leave spray paint on the walls. Spray painting arrows on the walls of the caves, that's the worst. So when you're going through a new passageway, things can go up, but they might also trend downwards. And when you're going through, say, a crawlway, you're on hands and knees, all of a sudden you're on your stomach, and things are starting to head downhill. Keep in mind that if you're crawling head first downhill, and then that lead doesn't go anywhere, now you have to back out of that situation, but pushing yourself backwards uphill with just your arms is not so easy. So I recommend going feet first if you're going downhill through a new passageway that you don't know where it leads. But that's why you don't go caving alone. Sometimes you need an ankle grabber in case you forget all safety. So I myself learned this lesson the hard way. Crawled head first downhill. It didn't go anywhere, so I called my friend for help. Pull me out of here! Sure enough, he pulls my boot off. At that point, he's able to just grab onto my whole leg and start pulling out as I'm pushing myself with my arms uphill. But yeah, hard to back out of things if you're upside down. So that was a sticky situation and a stinky situation with a smelly foot now exposed in the cave. Guided tour experiences are available across Canada that can help ease people into the caving environment, and it's an addictive activity. Once you explore your first cave, probably not going to be your last time, because you're going to be searching caves wherever you're traveling, and they are all across the world. I've heard the world of caving referred to as the dark continent. It's a whole other world to explore, and there's new species and new sites all over.
Well, I hope you enjoyed sitting down with Miles as much as I did in this little bit different episode of Vancouver Island Explored Winter Wonderland. I enjoyed hearing his stories. I enjoyed learning from his knowledge and his experience. I think the story that I related to most was when he was stuck down in that kind of cave area and had to have his leg pulled and his boot came off, and I can relate to that because I feel like that's the kind of situation I might get into one day. There's a lot more coming on Vancouver Island Explored Winter Wonderland. We are not done yet. Soon we're going to be heading up again to one of the mountains here on the island to experience some snowshoeing. We're going to be heading into the forest and joining some mountain bikers, and we're going to be going to a very unique indoor riding center that makes it possible to do riding in the wintertime when the rain's pouring down and you can't be out in the mountains. That and so much more is coming soon to the next episodes of Vancouver Island Explored Winter Wonderland, and I hope that you can join us for those too. Talk to you soon.
Oh my God, don't you ever stop.